everyone. Welcome to today's grammar lesson. Today we are looking at the simple future tense, but we're looking at it in more detail. We did have a previous video with an overview on it, but this one just tells you about all the different and specific details of this tense. And it goes into a lot more detail and explanation as compared to the other video that was offered. So we're going to talk about the simple future tense, what it is, why we use it. So the simple future tense is used to talk about actions or events that will happen in the future. It's a way to indicate that something will occur after the present moment. So sometime that is not now, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's next year, next week, a different time in the future that is not now, this action will happen. This action will start and finish in the future, so it is not a continuous action. We don't use the simple future tense for continuous action. There's a different tense in English that we use to talk about these continuous actions. It's the continuous or progressive tense, but this is only the simple tense. So let's look at it in a little bit more detail. The more you study English, the more that you're going to learn that there are many ways that we talk about the future, which makes it a little bit complicated to learn. When we're using the simple future tense, we only use it in certain situations. So we use it to talk about unplanned actions in the future. These are also known as spontaneous decisions. We use this tense to talk about guesses about the future based on personal thoughts, personal ideas, and opinions. Or we use this tense to talk about promises or offers to do something. So this tense follows a certain structure. The future simple tense follows this structure. So we've seen the SVO structure before, and now with the simple future tense, we have subject, plus we have the auxiliary verb will, plus the main verb, plus the object. So we've seen the auxiliary verb before in other videos about tenses. Auxiliary verbs are also known as helping verbs. Sometimes they support the main verbs and they provide information about the tense. In this case, the auxiliary verb is will, and it provides more information. It tells us that this is happening in the future. So will is the word that shows us that we're talking about the future. So whenever you talk about the future and you're using the simple future tense, you're going to be using the word will. And so for this, the word will must come before the main verb, which is here. If you put it anywhere else in a sentence when it's in just a simple statement about the simple future, then it must go before the main verb. You can't put it after the object or before the object or after the main verb or anything like that. You can't mix up the order because then your sentence is not going to make sense anymore. You have to keep the order just like this. So that is a really, really important thing to remember. So after we have the auxiliary verb will, we do have our main verb. We've seen before that our main verb sometimes changes depending on the subject or something like that. In this case, the main verb will never change. Remember in simple present tense, we used to change it. We could add ed on it or d on it, or if it's in the simple present, we would put s on it if it's third person singular. No, not for this one. This one is actually the easiest one because no matter what the subject is, it's always going to follow this form. Will plus main verb. That's the form that it follows, no matter what the subject is. If there's plural, singular, doesn't matter at all when it's in simple future. We're not changing this main verb. So the main verb will always stay in the base form no matter what. It is not impacted by the subject. The auxiliary verb tells us all the information that we need to know. We don't need to change anything else. That's why in this tense, we must always include will. If you're missing this word, then nobody's going to know you're talking about the future. You must always use this word. So we have the subject over here in these example sentences. We have our subject. We say, will speak, and speak is in its base form. The object is Spanish. We have our subject again. It's a third person subject, but that really doesn't change anything. We still have will drink. Will plus the verb in its base form, and the object is coffee. We will watch movies. Now we have a plural subject, but that doesn't change anything. We still have will plus the base form of the verb watch, and then the object is movies. She will play the guitar. She is the subject. Again, this one, like he, is in the third person singular. However, we still have will play, which means that we're adding will plus the base form of the verb, and the object is guitar. So we can see here our main verb, it never, ever changes. It's always in the base form. We never add ed, we never add s, nothing like that, because this special word will, our auxiliary verb, tells us everything. That's our future word. This word shows we're talking about the future. It's very clear, so we don't need to add anything else. So here is another structure that we use when we are talking about the simple future. So this should not say present simple. It's an error. Future simple is what we're talking about. There we go. Future simple tense can follow this structure here. So we have the subject plus the auxiliary verb. Now, instead of having a main verb, we actually are only going to have the word be plus the adjective. And so this is when we're used to talk about a state of being rather than a main action that's happening in the sentence. Our last structure was about a main action. Now we're talking about a state of being or a condition. So in that case, we are still focusing on the subject, and we're still having will, and will must only be in this case, but now we have be, and be tells us that we're doing the state of being, and the adjective is a describing word about that. So you might have a feeling in here, for example. She will be excited, for example. She will be happy. These things will follow the structure. So we always have subject. Like I said, the auxiliary verb in this structure, there will be two auxiliary verbs, will and be, and they have different functions. So will, like in the last one, functions to tell us we're talking about the future. This word will tells us we are talking about the future. And then because will is doing the job of telling us that the sentence about the future, be is doing a different job. Be emphasizes that it is about a state of being, for example. So we have will, and the only word that can follow is be, to tell us that this state of being is happening in the future. So these two words have to be included in the sentence structure, and they have to be in this order. So you have to have subject, will be, plus adjective, just like this. If you change the form of be after the word will, it will be wrong. We've seen in other videos, especially when we are talking about, say, the simple present form in this structure, subject plus the form of be plus adjective. You've noticed before, English is very confusing. The form of be will take different forms. It will look different. So some forms of be are is, are, am, was, were. We use these different forms of be in the simple present structure. For example, if we say they were happy, we would say that, or she is happy, I am happy. So we see these other forms of be, am, is, are, was, were. However, this is only for the either simple past or simple present. We don't do this for the simple future. So that's why if you change the word be, it will be wrong. You never want to change this form and use any of these in the future simple tense. So keep that in mind. We see our examples over here. I will be happy is one example. He will be angry. We will be excited. She will be organized. They will be playful. In every single case, we have an adjective. These are all adjectives. And we always have will be, and it always comes right after their subjects. And the subjects, again, don't change anything here. It's always going to stay the same. Doesn't matter the subject, doesn't matter the adjective that you use. It's always going to be the same. Now we have another very similar structure like this. So this one has almost the same structure. We have will be after the subject, but now we have a noun. This noun resembles a profession like a job or a type of person, like a child or a student or a senior. These are all types of people. This is the most common thing if the subject is a person or a group of people. However, if the noun or the subject, we can change this noun over here or over here. We can change it if the subject is not a person. So we usually use it to talk about a subject as a type of person, a noun. That's what the noun resembles. But if the subject is not actually a person, if it's a thing, then the noun can be a thing as well. So that might be a little bit confusing. Let me bring your attention to this example here. The example, the water will be ice. So in this case, my subject is the water, and then I'm still putting will be, and then my noun is ice. So that is what I mean by saying if the noun is an object, like any kind of object, a random thing, then the noun can be like a random thing, like ice. However, in most other cases, we'll be seeing the structure used just like these example sentences here. So in these example sentences, we have, I will be a teacher. He will be a doctor. We will be students. She will be an adult. They will be teenagers. So in all of these cases, my subject clearly shows that I, he, we, she, they. These are all people, subjects for people. So will be, we're still following the structure. We're not changing anything. It's always going to stay the same, but now we're following with nouns. And nouns are professions or types of people. So teacher is a job, a profession. A doctor is a job or profession. Students, we can say occupation, type of person. Adult is a type of person, and teenager is a type of person. So because all of our subjects, these are all subjects for people, then all of these nouns can be for people, types of people, jobs as well. Down here, if we don't want to say the water, then what do we do when we change a subject for it to be a thing? It will change and reduce to it. It will be ice, just like that. So we only use the subject it for things and objects and animals. And so in that case, you will use something that looks a little bit like that down there. So let's talk about this different situations that we use this tense, this simple future tense. We use it for unplanned actions. So what is an unplanned action? It's something that the speaker decided in the moment of speaking. So right in this moment, the speaker decided they will do something. In other words, it's an impulsive action. Here's some examples. Somebody says, I feel tired. This is in simple present tense. So the speaker is saying, I feel tired now, presently in this moment. I will go to sleep. This is an immediate decision saying, oh, I'm going to do this right now, right away. And so when the speaker decides, I'm going to do this right away, I'm going to do this right now, they didn't think about it before, but they are thinking about it now that they realize that they are tired in this moment. Now it's an impulsive action. I will go to sleep. Now we're using this. Number 2, I will call her right away. So this is another impulsive decision. Didn't think about it before, didn't plan it. It's not a repeated action. So we can't just say, I call her right away, because it will happen in the future, but we just decided it now. So right away, I will call her right away. And we see here, we're using our future structure. That looks heavy. So this is something that we see right in this moment. It's an observation. It's something that we notice right now. That looks heavy. And now it's an immediate decision. Okay, I will carry it because it looks heavy now. I will carry it. And so now it's unplanned. We never thought about it before. This idea just came to us in this moment that we will do this. So we are going to use this simple future tense. I don't have any money. This is a realization. I just noticed now I don't have any money. I will borrow some. So this is an idea that I just got in this moment. I didn't think about it. I didn't plan it. It's something that will happen in the future, but I just decided that it will happen right now. And finally, he is sick. He will stay home. Again, you don't plan to be sick. Just happens one day, and usually it's very bad news and you don't want it to happen. But in this case, we say he will stay home now. So in the future of the day, he will be at home based on something that happened right now, and it's an impulsive action, something that was not planned for at all. So that's when we use the future for unplanned actions. Now, we also use this tense for predictions based on opinion. So to explain that more, this means the speaker is guessing about the future based on what they think or information they already know. It is often used after a non-action word that is used to show opinion, such as the words think and believe. So we're going to look at these examples here. We'll look at the first one. I think it will rain tomorrow. So in this case, we have the subject, but then we also have our non-action word that shows opinion, which is think. And then we have another subject. Now it is a subject that talks about the weather. And so the weather is reduced to the word it. Will rain. And this is the future action that we are guessing, that we are predicting based on our opinion. She thinks he will arrive soon. So she thinks, here we have our non-action word. And usually our non-action words, they're usually going to stay in the simple present form. And now we're thinking about the future that will happen here. He will arrive soon. So this is an opinion that she has, that he will arrive soon. And we're making this guess about the future. Next one, he believes they will eat a lot. So this is our non-action word that shows opinion, he believes. And now this is his guess about the future. They will eat a lot. So that's his guess about the future there. This one, they believe he will win the game. So now they believe, we still have our non-action word that shows opinion right here. Now this is the prediction of the future. He will win the game. So that is another example of the situation that we use predictions based on opinion. Now here is another example of when we use the simple future form for promises or offers. This shows a commitment to a future action, and it shows an intention to help, support, or do something for someone else in the future. Here are some examples of this one. She will help him with his homework. So it's her promise to him to help him with his homework. She has the intention to help him, to support him, or do something with him in the future. And we know it's in the future, a future promise will help. I will babysit for you. Will babysit. So this is a promise to do something in the future, saying, I will do this. I will certainly do this. You can count on me. I will support you. I will do this for you. I will cover your shift. Another example of promising to do something in the future, committing to doing something in the future, and you have the full intention to help somebody out with this in the future. And that's when we're using the simple future structure in all of these. Our final example, we will buy dinner for you. Again, the subject we has intention and a commitment to buy dinner for this person. It is an offer or a promise to do this in the future. Just like that. Will buy, and we're using that simple future tense. So those are the cases that we typically use the simple future. Another thing to know about when we use a simple future tense is we like to use time words and signal words. And we have seen this in the simple past tense as well. So there are common signal words used in the simple future tense. And these signal words tell us more about when the future action will happen. Because sometimes it's not enough just to say that it will happen. Sometimes you need to say when the listener can expect this action to happen. So here's some examples. We use the word tomorrow. For example, you can say, I will clean the house tomorrow. Now you don't, like, you know, it's not happening at any time in the future. Maybe it will happen next year. You wouldn't want that. I will clean the house tomorrow. That tells us exactly when this promise or offer to clean the house is happening. Okay, let's look at another example. I will see you next week. So we have will see, and we're saying exactly when this is going to happen next week. So maybe you don't have to wait a full month or a full year. You know it will happen next week. We're saying next because it's future. So you want to make sure that this lines up, because if you say last, for example, well, that tells us that we're talking about the past. And that doesn't make sense for using the word will. It's confusing. So you need to make sure that you're using the correct word. You can also say, I will see you in a week. So that says, I will see you in 7 days. And we usually have to put exactly this order in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, we can say. Doesn't matter how many weeks, or in a month, or in 2 months, or in a year, or in 2 years. We always say in plus how much, how many weeks, how many years, like that. And so we have to have these 3 words in this exact order if you want to use that. The next one we can say soon. Soon is a really common one that we say. I will eat dinner soon. So here it doesn't really tell us too much information about it, but it tells us that it's going to happen at some point in the near future. So soon is a good word to show the near future. That's what that means. Later does not really mean near future. Now it means a little bit farther into the future. I will study English later. So now we're not expecting this to happen soon. We're expecting this to happen later on, farther into the future. And then here we say by a specific date. This is for a deadline, when you have to have something done by a specific time. I will finish my homework by Monday, we say. So by and then a date. You can say by Monday, by Tuesday. You can say by Tuesday, January 2nd. Doesn't matter. It's up to you. But this is how we say it, either by the date of the week or the actual date. Or we can say a month. I'll finish my homework by December. something like that. As long as you have some kind of time word, Monday, December, an actual date, January 2nd, 2025, whatever you want to say. As long as it makes sense, a specific date must go after the word by. So to summarize what we've talked about, we are using the simple future tense to talk about actions that will happen in the future. We use this tense to talk about unplanned decisions about the future and predictions about the future, as well as promises or offers that will happen in the future. Structures. We looked at 3 different structures today. We looked at the subject plus will plus the main verb, which is in the base form, plus the object. Then we use the subject plus will be and an adjective, a describing word. Then we use the subject plus will be plus a noun. So the noun is usually a job, an occupation, or a type of person. And so these are the structures that you will likely use. Now we're going to get ready to test ourselves. So what is the simple future form of each sentence? Example sentences. So this is one. I go to Toronto. Now, how would we change this? So it's in simple future tense. I go to Toronto. This is in simple present. How do we change that to be simple future? The answer, I will go to Toronto. I will go to Toronto. So will plus the verb go to Toronto. Let's look at another one. I bought some candy. Now we have bought. Bought is an irregular verb. Bought, this is the form of the simple past tense. So this sentence is in simple past tense. How do we change it? So it is in the simple future tense. I bought some candy. How do we change that? I will buy some candy. I will buy some candy. So that is in the simple future. Let's do our last one. So here's our example sentence. It is cold in the winter. This is in the simple present tense. It is cold in the winter. Now, how would we change this to look in simple future tense? How would this sentence look like in simple future tense? It is cold in the winter. How do we change that to make it simple future tense? So it would look like this. It will be cold in the winter because cold is an adjective. So that's why after the subject it, we need will be. It will be cold in the winter. So this is what our sentence looks like in the simple future tense. It will be cold in the winter. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you continue to practice your English, practice this grammar, and keep on trying your best. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.